Grill at Smoky Mountain Brewery. Eat local, eat good.
It's always magnificent. Mondays on the Basilio Show, presented by our friends at Fleet Tire. I-275 exit 1B at East Woodland Avenue in Knoxville. Fleet Tire, I-275 exit 1B at East Woodland Avenue in Knoxville. And now, back to B.
I was just sharing with Brian Hartman as I welcome you back, and we're about to get to our overtime segment. As of yet, still unsponsored. Shame on me. Letting a month go by. But we've had a lot of other stuff going on. Got a special announcement with the great Willie Heflin coming up here. You know, it's just about baseball season. We were talking a second ago, you know, this Saturday show for me, I love doing the post game. It's fun. Saturday show felt like a real job. And I was in a tough spot because I wanted to rip us. But the point is, we don't play a game tomorrow. And I'm pretty damn glad. I'm working ahead on the blog, and I have an entry tomorrow. And it says, it says absence makes the heart grow fonder, they say. Boy, I sure hope that's true. Because I got to be honest with you, I'm looking forward to a night off away from that basketball team. No offense. I am getting borderline sick of these guys. And it's still January. And it's not so much the winning and the losing, it's the just goofy way they play. Or maybe it is the winning and the losing. I don't know. But I'm on here, getting just inundated. And Matt Jones has done a nice job of building his platform down through the years. And he sicked his sycophants on me. And I don't mind stuff like that. I mixed it up with those guys. But I'll be damned if I'm going to sit here and defend something that's indefensible that pissed me off. When you've lost 6 or 7 times to that Kentucky team in your building, and the loss looked like that Saturday, look, I'll sing for my food. I'll dance for my supper. I'll dance, I'll do whatever you want. I got no problem with that. And I asked our fans, our listeners, I'm like, look, I need this many likes, and they didn't give me that many likes, and I said, I'm getting out of here. William Patterson's on the way next. I'll sit around and take some more calls, though, with you as we talk about it. Hit it, William.
You're listening to FM 105.7 and AM 1340, WKGN Knoxville, and W289CU Knoxville, Fan Run Radio.
And here we go. Live from the White Claw Hard Seltzer Studios, it's the Playbook presented by VIP Play. With Brett Hullander and Garrett Armbrust, I'm William Patterson. We appreciate you listening along with us on this fine Monday from Knoxville, Tennessee. And we've got plenty to cover from over the weekend, including a very concerning loss for Tennessee in basketball at the hands of Kentucky. That was a game where Tennessee was up by double digits for a majority of that first half and then found themselves in the midst of a post-game scuffle because they couldn't get the job done. We'll talk about that, our takeaways from Tennessee and Kentucky, as well as getting you ready for the college football playoff tonight between Indiana and Miami. And we'll also talk about big addition / retaining for Tennessee football, Arian Carter coming back for another season. A hefty price it may be, but a team leader is coming back and not going to the NFL or going to another SEC team after entering the portal on Friday. We'll talk about the importance of that. But as we continue the Tennessee Transfer Portal Central, we have plenty to update you on from a number of commitments that occurred over the weekend. So we'll update the Tennessee Transfer Portal Board and let you know the names to know in terms of targets that are still out there for the Volunteers. So plenty to cover on a Monday edition of the Playbook. So happy you're here. If you're on the YouTube chat, make sure to like and subscribe and get active in the comment section. We'll read off your questions and comments as they come in. Let's get right into the action, but before we do so, let's welcome in a new, maybe not a new member of the crew, a former member that is back for the 2026 calendar year. It's Garrett. Garrett, how are you?
Doing good. It was nice to be at home for a little bit for the holidays, but excited to be back up here. Start school back, middle of basketball season now. Got the national championship tonight, so we got a good week ahead of us in sports, and excited to talk about it all.
Brett, how are you? How was your weekend?
Good, man. Yeah, just a lot of NFL playoffs. They were a couple good ones, a couple stinkers, but yeah, doing well. Had some soccer stuff on Saturday most of the day, but yeah, tried to follow along with the basketball game as much as I could. I saw the last maybe 6-7 minutes of it and things like that. So, but looking forward to talking about it all. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I was at the game on Saturday. And, was really excited. A big matchup for the Volunteers, welcoming the rival team in Kentucky. And Tennessee has been undefeated in games in which I have attended over the last 2 seasons. Unfortunately, that streak was broken on Saturday. We'll talk
Did you try
more.
and get you a bomber jacket?
I did not. I did not.
Try to sneak into the student section?
No. I had seats and brought my buddy Patrick,
Nice.
former Tennessee running back, with me. And ended up being that we had a day. We ended up all over the place. Ended up at Barley's at night, and make sure to join us at Barley's on Saturday for the official Tennessee watch party as the Volunteers take on the Crimson Tide in hoops. 8:30 tip-off. I encourage to get early. Get there early around 7 o'clock. Get some food, some drinks. Should be a good time. We'll see you at Barley's on Saturday. I got lettuce wrap burger and some sweet potato fries on Saturday night. It was very good. And they've got some Surfsides there. Big fan of Surfsides and White Claw.
Nice.
But regardless, good weekend. A little bit tired yesterday, but ready to get back into the mix today. And we'll kick it off with our first things first topic, and that is Tennessee Transfer Portal Central as it continues to roll on. We will update the board with numerous new commits. But we'll begin with the guys that have been in the boat for a little bit longer than others. And we'll go Quay Moss out of Kansas State, the first commit for the Volunteers in the portal class, followed up by Ori Williams, an offensive tackle out of LSU. Kayan Lee, a cornerback out of Auburn. Xavier Gilliam out of Penn State, a defensive tackle. Kicker Cooper Ranvier from Louisville. Defensive end / Leo and top 5 defensive player Chaz Coleman. And that's in terms of the portal rankings. He was the number 5 guy in the portal at the time of his commitment and the number 1 defensive player. But Coleman, one of the crown jewels of this portal class. Amari Campbell, his former teammate, I should say, at Penn State, a linebacker who had the coach-to-player communication in the helmet this past season, one of the engineers of that Penn State defense. He is also in the boat with the Volunteers and is sure to make life a lot easier in terms of the transition into Jim Knowles' new defensive scheme. Another Penn State commit was safety DeJuan Lane. A guy who had 44 tackles and 32 solo tackles in 2 seasons with the Nittany Lions. Then you go to TJ Metcalf, a safety out of Michigan. Began his career at Arkansas and was an all-Big Ten selection in 2025. A really strong addition to this Tennessee secondary. I like the build and the frame that he boasts, and I think he's going to be a big-time contributor to this defense. Another linebacker / edge is Jordan Norman out of Tulane, 6'4" Hoover, Alabama native who began his career at South Alabama. And speaking of South Alabama, let's welcome Trent Thomas to the party as we go down the list of newer commits that we saw over the weekend. And during his time with the Jaguars, he produced 4 receptions for 34 yards, and he earned a PFF grade of 46.9 on the year, but his best mark was as a pass blocker at 61.9. In 2024, Thomas played in all 13 games and made 5 starts. He caught 1 pass for 5 yards that year. As a true freshman in 2023, he appeared in just 1 game. But the stuff that I think is most important for Tennessee fans to know about, 6'5", 254. This is a blocking tight end, very similar to what you had with the former Jack Van Dorselaar, who then committed to Oklahoma. This is a blocking tight end, a guy that you have to have on the roster. Not going to wow anyone with the numbers, but a valuable player with some nice size. Another big name is offensive guard Donovan Haslam out of West Virginia, a 6'3", 346-pounder who played left guard, left tackle, and right guard this year. Did a little bit of everything for the Mountaineers and posted a 74.7 PFF pass block grade on more than 1,200 career snaps. I think this is a guy that could come in right away and start for this Volunteers team. He'll be in the mix for it most definitely. Another guy to know about who is in the boat, safety DJ Burks out of Appalachian State, a Maryville, Tennessee native who was the leading tackler at App State over the past 2 seasons with 123, and he totaled 2 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, and 5 pass breakups this season, and will have 1 year of eligibility remaining. Pretty cool story that he gets to finish it out on Rocky Top, just a mere miles away from where he was playing high school football multiple seasons ago. Cornerback / wide receiver Isaiah Hartage from Colorado was also another commit over the weekend. He visited on Friday or Saturday, either one of the two, and committed Saturday morning. The Hollywood, Florida native tallied 5 receptions for 37 yards and 14 tackles this past season for the Buffs. He was rated as the 2,492nd player in the portal and was the 356th ranked wide receiver, but he did play both sides at Colorado, obviously not to the level of a former Colorado defensive back / wide receiver and Travis Hunter, but we do know that Tennessee has a nice connection to Colorado these days in terms of players that come over from the Buffs into Knoxville and make an immediate impact. Colton Hood was one of those guys this past season. A running back was finally acquired over the weekend, and that is Javon Gordon out of Tulane. Toccoa, Georgia native who rushed for 516 yards and 5 touchdowns on 128 carries in 2025 for the Green Wave. He's a 5'10 back that also tallied 13 catches for 93 yards and a touchdown in the passing game. And he's a top 50 running back in the portal, received an 86th grade. Tevis Metcalf out of Michigan played in just 3 games this past season for the Wolverines, but is the brother of a recent Tennessee commit and TJ Metcalf, so it kind of seems like a dual package here. Then you got a quarterback, Ryan Staub out of Colorado, a guy that, I was familiar with watching the Buffs play this season, and Staub got a start in 1 game this season, but ultimately was not the option for Colorado moving forward. But granted, they had a ton of different quarterbacks that played this year. But he threw for 427 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions this past season. He's a California native who has thrown for 4 total touchdowns in his career. And that is the updated list of transfer portal commits. I could have thrown Arian Carter in here because you do retain him, but we'll talk more about him here in a minute. We'll begin with the guys in the boat, the commits. Some of them are new. Garrett, you haven't been with us since the beginning of the new year, so your opinion right now on this Tennessee transfer portal class and what'd you make of the new additions to the group this weekend?
Yeah, overall, I think it's been a really good class. I think you've gone out and got a lot of the needs that you wanted. Obviously, quarterback was something that, you just kind of missed on. Obviously, a lot of other teams throwing around high money. You thought you were maybe going to get Levitt. Obviously, you didn't. But you're going to run, obviously, unless Aguilar can come back with either McIntyre or Faison. Probably, obviously, McIntyre wins that job. But I wouldn't overreact to that. I think you have a wide receiver group that's going to be one of the best in the SEC. And as long as you have a good offensive line, I think George is going to be in a position where he can still succeed, even as a young guy. But I really like what you got, especially this weekend. I thought Jordan Norman was a big pickup. I think someone coming off the edge is going to be really big. Obviously, AC coming back to the linebacker group, that's going to be one of the best, if not the best linebacker group possibly in all of the country. And then I think that Javon Gordon is a good, RB2 option behind Deshaun Bishop. He was a really good running back this past season at Tulane. Is a true freshman. Saw him in a couple games. Have really good ball skills. Shifty guy. So excited to see what he can do in the running back boat, because that was kind of another position where you had a couple guys that flaked on you and you had to go get someone out of the portal a little later than you would have liked.
Now, Brett, what about you? A lot of new commits this weekend. I know there's been some, back and forth thoughts on this group for you. Does this move the needle any at all?
Everybody knows kind of my thoughts on the groups. We've talked about the other guys. I mean, just on these new guys, I think, honestly, this Haslam guy intrigues me the most. I think he has a potential to start at a guard spot if you want to play Perry at right tackle. I like how I don't think he gave up a sack in like 400-something snaps this season at a guard and tackle position, so you kind of like that experienced player. A big dude at that. So I think out of the top ones, and obviously Javon, I don't know how you say his name, but was an important pickup. We've bounced around numerous running backs in this portal, bringing guys in for visits, and finally landed one. It feels good to finally have that behind you. And I think those are the two guys I'm kind of most excited about that we brought in this weekend.
Now, a new category we added last week was committed but signed elsewhere. That was wide receiver / specialist Gavin Freeman out of Oklahoma State, flipped to Baylor after committing to Tennessee the week prior. And then Walter Mathis Jr., a defensive lineman prospect that Tennessee was after, silently committed to the staff that he was headed to Tennessee, but then a mere 24 hours later switched and signed with Auburn. So 2 misses there. And you might be asking, William, at this point in the game, who else is left for Tennessee possibly? Well, with the addition of Javon Gordon, the running back position and the guys you had on campus in terms of visits at running back were unlikely to commit past that point. We've now seen Gavin Sawchuk out of Florida State commit to Northwestern. And then we also saw Mekhi Fletcher for Michigan State commit to Ole Miss. So both those guys were expected to go elsewhere, but they were transfer portal targets at one point for the Volunteers. Wanted to make sure we mentioned them. But now you're kind of down to Brian Taylor Jr., a defensive lineman out of Florida who has bounced around throughout his career, was a JUCO product, played for Jackson State at one point as well, and now has entered the portal and is also considering the NFL draft, but seems to be wanting to cash in on one final season of college football. And Tennessee hosted Taylor over the weekend. The way I look at it, the longer it takes for these guys to commit post-visit, the worse. But, I think this is a position of need for Tennessee, just another, a guy in terms of depth. And this would be a player with some SEC experience and had a solid season for the Gators this past year. So in terms of who's left to watch for, it'd be Brian Taylor Jr. How important is it to acquire a guy like, Taylor Jr. with a ton of SEC experience in your eyes, Brett?
Yeah, no, it's another added depth piece. Guy can play. He definitely flashed some at Florida. And we've talked about some of these guys we've had visit, played, Caden and Lee comes to mind. We spoke on him playing at Auburn, played a big role on one of the best defenses in the conference. And early in the season, Florida was playing as high level defense as anybody, really keeping them in football games and stuff like that. He was a part of that. So I like the thought of maybe adding him to this D-line. You continue to develop those guys and run those guys out there as much as you can. Continue to build that depth. I really like the idea of adding him to your D-line for sure.
Now, while Tennessee did add a number of players over the weekend through the portal, they also did miss on a couple of notable names as well. One of them is defensive back Aaron Scott Jr. out of Ohio State. He is headed to Oregon. Despite having the Ohio State logo tattooed on his wrist, he'll be playing for the Oregon Ducks this upcoming season.
Now, did he even visit? Did he make it in, or did he commit to Oregon before even
I believe he committed to Oregon before we could get him on campus.
All right.
And he also follows the footsteps of Fahim Delane, another Ohio State target that Tennessee had interest in getting into campus. He is committed elsewhere as well. So he's headed to LSU following his brother's footsteps and Mansour Delane, who had a very impressive season for the Tigers. But you missed on a couple of those specific DB acquisitions. Like Aaron Scott Jr. would have been a really nice DB, a former 5-star in the 2024 class, was expected to be the starter in some capacity for the Buckeyes this upcoming season, but he is now headed to Oregon. So a miss there at defensive back for the Volunteers. But again, you have been able to add a lot of key players, and you were able to keep an Arian Carter. We'll talk more about him here in a little bit. But overall, this class is starting to kind of come down to the wire. Maybe have one more commit left in you with the Florida defensive lineman. But at this point, this is the portal class for the Volunteers. And I think Tennessee has done their job in terms of defensive pieces. You knew you needed a big overhaul there, and you're able to add in 4 Penn State guys that come over with Jim Knowles that have experience of the system he wants to run. I like the addition of TJ Metcalf at safety, a hard hitter who has a really nice frame and build. I think he's going to be a good player for this Tennessee team. And then, you know, on the offensive side of the ball, you go get a backup running back. Gordon, I think, is going to be a very nice complement alongside of Deshaun Bishop. You lose a couple of offensive linemen. You gain one in Donovan Haslam from West Virginia, a guy that did a lot of different things for him. So overall, I think Tennessee has done their job at every position outside of quarterback, and I'd give this a B grade for Josh Heupel. I think if you were able to swing a quarterback, at least one with some notoriety, it would have been an A, because I think you would have been able to check off every box on the list. But right now, a B would be my grade for this group. Garrett, in your eyes, has Josh Heupel and company done enough to, bolster this roster in the right direction following this past season where there were a number of issues defensively? And what do you make of the quarterback situation? I know you touched on it a bit ago, but, is Staub enough in terms of a backup or a depth piece?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Probably a B plus maybe. Obviously, if you would have hit on a high-level quarterback, definitely an A. But, I mean, for Heupel, this was, his toughest offseason as a coach. Had to make coaching changes, makes a new DC hire, and then with that DC hire, you get a couple of very highly rated guys out of the portal to follow their coach. So if you would have never made that hire and that firing, then you would have never had those guys in the boat. So I think that led your transfer portal class. That got you a couple more guys that you probably wouldn't have gotten had you not gotten the original guys, and Amari Campbell and Chaz Coleman and guys like that. So I like it so far. I'm with you. I don't think Staub is going to be anything more than a QB2 or a QB3. He had some good moments. I think it was the Delaware game that he started. I remember watching that. He played decent in it. I think he has a little bit of mobility with his legs. I'm not overly familiar with his game, but it's nothing more than a depth piece.
Brett, your grade right now?
Probably a C. Obviously the defense is an A, but you just completely swung and missed the most important position on the field. I don't think you had a very good plan going in for it. I think you aimed high, which is great, but what was your backup plan? Did you spend too much time on the Levitt? Did you spend too much time on trying to go sway Ty Simpson, to stay and things like that and transfer up, and now you're stuck with, we've talked about it 1,000 times on here. Can you win with a young quarterback? We're going to find out. And you're going to need the defense to take a huge step. And right now we're just a defense on paper. And although the names look great, and I think you've upgraded at a lot of positions you needed to, it's early to call. You got a tougher schedule next year and different things like that. So it remains to be seen. But as of today, I've got to give it a C at best for me.
Okay, so we've got some fair grades. Again, I would have had an A if Tennessee was able to swing
absolutely.
a Levitt or a Simpson or whatever it may be. But we'll now focus on that quarterback situation. We were talking about it all last week. What would Tennessee do after missing out on Sam Levitt? Ty Simpson says he's actually going to the NFL draft. Joey Aguilar, not going to have a decision on him until we now know February 10th is the date for a decision on Aguilar's future. Now, if you're able to get Aguilar back for another season, all of this has changed. And I didn't say this is an A portal grade because you have a quarterback and you did everything else that you needed to defensively. So we'll get a decision on February 10th for Joey Aguilar. I think another thing that's important is that Aguilar did not enter the portal because if he were to gain an extra year of eligibility, he would then have to stay at Tennessee. He wouldn't be able to go elsewhere because he didn't enter the portal. The Ohio quarterback, Navarro, is kind of doing the same thing. He's waiting for his 7th year of eligibility, but he entered the portal just to keep his options open. So if Aguilar is able to come back, I think Tennessee's in a good spot. And this is going to be a team that I think can compete for a college football playoff, which would be great for Josh Heupel. However, the current iteration of this team that we're looking at, I think that quarterback is going to be an issue. I'm not saying George McIntyre won't be good long term. I'm not saying Faison Brandon won't be good long term. But as we've covered ad nauseum on here, the winning teams have veteran quarterbacks. I love what George McIntyre is doing in the offseason, hanging out with the guys in Miami, getting some really important bonding time together, working out. I love all of that. But the reality is he hasn't seen a ton of SEC defenses. He hasn't seen a SEC defense yet when he's in game. So you're going to have some growing pains, and I do worry that if the ceiling of this team is significantly lowered because you've got those younger quarterbacks, then, is all the effort you put into this portal cycle, will it actually come into fruition? Will it actually look like it worked? Because if Tennessee goes 7-5, everyone's going to say, well, the portal didn't work. Mm-hmm. But I think the stuff you've done defensively is going to put you in a position where if you have a competent offense, the defense will be able to do their job. And again, this is on paper, as you mentioned. But at least in terms of getting a better group and a better squad than what you had last year, I think you've achieved that defensively. And I know that shouldn't be the standard, what Tennessee did last year in terms of their defensive numbers, but at least it's better. And you got a championship-level coach at defensive coordinator in Jim Knowles. So I think you've done a lot of things right, but the quarterback situation could ultimately weigh down the perspective of this team if there are a lot of growing pains and if you're not able to have Joey Aguilar back into the mix. So I think that it's a tough situation for Tennessee to be in, but as a fan and as a critic, I think you have to figure out which lane you want to be in terms of what you have for an outlook for Tennessee. If you have the goal of playing in the college football playoff, then you're getting on your hands and knees to have Joey Aguilar get another year. If you're okay with having a little bit of a utility year where you go about 7-5, maybe keep it close in a couple of games, but ultimately just don't have the quarterback play to beat a Texas, beat an LSU, a Texas A&M on the road, and you're okay with taking the lumps and bruises, then make sure you're staying in that lane, but you can't have the we need to fire Josh Heupel part in there because Heupel's going to face criticism. He's going to face some people calling for his job if Tennessee does go 7-5. But if you're preseason okay with taking the lumps and bruises, you can't be one to say you need to fire Heupel because that's the outset you went with. So that's where I stand with this Tennessee team at the moment. Obviously, my goals are to make a college football playoff and compete for one. I think if you get Joey Aguilar back, that should be the expectation. But again, just looking at how these teams in the playoff have fared and looking at the quarterbacks that had the most success this season, many of them are in their final 2 years of eligibility. Real quick, looking at the YouTube chat, Matt Michael says defense should be much improved. Just need GMAC or Faison to replicate Nico's 2024 numbers to be in playoff contention. I think Bishop, Gordon, Morris will be big in the run game. I could agree with that. And he gives them a C+ after giving them a D- last week. So a slight upgrade from Matt. Spence H says GMAC will be fine. He has been watching film 24/7 instead of hitting the gym / the kitchen. Oh, well,
something to eat while I was watching film.
Yeah, never a bad idea. Pop-Tarts are, look, I will say, in 2026, there's not a better way to eat unhealthier and become fatter than just eating all the processed foods that the United States pumps out every year. So watch some film and, I don't know, have some Kraft mac and cheese with real cheese in it. That's the way I'd do it.
They seem to put every other guy on weight. I mean, David Sanders came underweight, put on like 20, 25 pounds. He was ready to go,
It's possible.
Yeah. We're going to have to be all in on this GMAC thing.
Yeah.
I'm not very positive on this Aguilar thing.
Well, we're just going to have to hope for the best at this point. All right, when we come back, we'll talk about Arian Carter, linebacker for the Volunteers. He's headed back to Knoxville, staying for another season. We'll break down what that defense looks like with Carter now officially in the mix when we return right here on the Playbook, presented by VIP Play on Fan Run Radio.
For the fans, by the fans, this is Fan Run Radio, Knoxville.
Attention service members and veterans. Introducing the Griffin Law Firm, your trusted ally in military legal matters. From court martials to benefit claims, at Griffin Law, your mission is their mission. Here's VFL Marshall Griffin.
As a veteran and retired military attorney, I've successfully defended lifelong benefits and helped preserve professional futures. So I know that when you hire a military justice lawyer, you maximize your chance to get relief. With my unique experience, I can advocate for you because there's no military matter that's too big or too small. Let us help you make these critical decisions that could affect the rest of your life. Remain silent. Request counsel. Call Griffin Law.
For a free consultation, call 888-707-4282. That's 888-707-4282. Or just visit griffinlawdefense.com. North Knox Siding and Windows is a complete exterior home improvement company that can help you with all your home exterior needs. If your home needs new siding, windows, doors, gutters, handrails, a deck, or a new roof, then give my friends at North Knox Siding and Windows a call at 865-689-0505. You can also visit their showroom at 5618 North Broadway. Locally owned and operated and proudly serving all of Knoxville and the surrounding areas, North Knox Siding and Windows. Online at northknoxsidingandwindows.com.
Hey Knoxville! Surfside iced tea and vodka, made with real brewed tea, is only 100 calories, 2 grams of sugar, with no bubbles and no troubles. That's right, zero carbonation, so it's easy to sip and enjoy. Headed to a game day or party at a friend's house? Bring an iced tea or lemonade variety pack from Surfside, or try their green tea and new raspberry tea vodka. Find the can with the sunset stripes this season. Surfside iced tea and vodka, sold at bars, restaurants, and stores near you. Surfside iced tea and vodka, sunshine in a can. Must be 21 or older. Enjoy responsibly.
All right, back here on the Playbook, presented by VIP Play. We appreciate you hanging out with us on this Monday from K-Town. Whether you may be doing it on the YouTube live stream, make sure to like and subscribe and comment at us if you're watching on there, or on the free Fan Run Radio app. However you may be doing it, we appreciate your time. We'll now switch over to another big revelation that came out of the weekend, and that's Arian Carter. On Friday, I'm packing my bags, trying to think about what I'm doing for dinner, leaving the station, and all of a sudden, boom, Arian Carter intends to enter the NCAA transfer portal and will withdraw from the NFL draft. And I'm like, what? Why? I mean, why not stay? You know, you got a really solid defensive group. You were one of the leaders of this defense this past season. Stick around. Don't leave, let alone go to Alabama or Texas A&M, 2 teams that were pinned early on as targets for the coveted linebacker. He would have been one of the best players in the portal had he gone in. He had a 93 grade, according to 24/7 Sports. That would have put him in the top 100. And I just was like, man, that'd be a bad loss, especially having him go to another SEC school. But after a little bit of deliberation over a course of 36 to 48 hours, Carter met with Tennessee and has decided to stay for the 2026 season. He totaled 161 tackles, 8 pass deflections, 1.5 sacks, and 1 forced fumble, in addition to an interception in 3 seasons with the Volunteers. He's a 3-year starter, And he announced his intentions to enter the NFL draft in December, did not play in the bowl game, and decided to put his name in the transfer portal before the deadline to try and find a new home for next year. But thankfully, Tennessee and Josh Heupel and staff are able to keep Carter around, and I think he's going to be, really well off with the guys he has around him now. And that linebacking room in particular, I think could be one of the best in the SEC. Let me name off the guys that you have in that room right now. And keep in mind, folks, Jim Knowles is going to be your defensive coordinator. It's not Tim Banks anymore. And you've got a lot of guys on this staff that have done a really good job of developing talent. Ronnie Gardner, an example. But William Inge has done a great job bringing in players that are immediate impacts. We saw so with Jaden Perlotti this year. A little bit undersized in terms of his frame, but he's a speedster and is really good in pass coverage, much better than the other options you had in pass coverage at least. Edwin Spillman has been a really nice addition / story for this Tennessee defense. At least he was this past year. So right now, in terms of guys with proven experience, Amari Campbell, Arian Carter, Edwin Spillman, Jane Perlotti, and Jeremiah Thielander. Now, there's a little bit of a polar bear in that group, I understand, but those first four names are all really valuable players. And then you got a lot of high-level potential of guys you've recruited. Jaden Harmon, Jordan Burns, TJ White, Braden Rouse. Braden Rouse was one of the top performers at the Army All-American practices last week. So I like the potential you have with some of those younger guys, but you've also got proven experience with Carter, Campbell, Perlotti, Thielander, and Edwin Spillman. So I think this is really nice to have Carter back in that mix, not only because he's a great player, but he's also a team leader. And the big thing about the transfer portal is these days, folks, there's so much movement and there's so much new. It's nice to have a team leader from last year's team return with this new regime to be able to keep some of that grounded chemistry and locker room vibe with some new guys as a part of the team, and also have a really important player, one of the best linebackers in the SEC this past season in Carter. So I think it's a home run hit, big addition for Tennessee. I almost look at this as you added a guy in the portal to Arian Carter's level because you're able to retain him. And I think when we talk about the transfer portal, we should also look at it as who are the guys you retained, because that plays into it as well. Them not leaving the building and making sure they stick around. I think that should play a part into it. Arian Carter, a big re-addition to this Tennessee team. Garrett, what'd you make of Carter, first off, just entering the portal in the first place, but also deciding to stick around at the end of the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, when it originally happened, kind of found it a bit odd. Obviously didn't get the grade back that he wanted on his NFL draft future hopes, and then obviously wanted to come back and have a better senior season. It would have sucked, though, to lose someone, in-state guy, from the Nashville area, has played at Tennessee his whole career for the past 3 seasons. I mean, you would have hated to see someone like that leave and go to a rival school and be, a captain-level player on another SEC team. So to be able to keep him was big. I don't know. I'm sure you're more in tune of the situation on what his thought process was. I think possibly it might have just been kind of a leverage play of, hey, I'm going to go test the waters, and if you want me, you'll pay me a little bit more and I'll stay here. I don't know if that's exactly what it was, but that kind of just seemed like to me, looking at it from the outside, that was what it was. And considering that he's been there for 3 years, obviously you want him back in the boat. You have a guy that's young like Perlotti that's going to be really good. Spillman, obviously, and then Amari Campbell coming over from Penn State. I would expect Thielander to probably get buried a little bit more in the depth chart. Obviously was a lot slower than some of the other linebackers this year on the team. So not to hate on him or anything, but to see him play less snaps than he did this season would be a welcoming sight.
Yeah, I mean, I think Thielander is valuable in terms of being a team leader himself, but as we watched unfold throughout this season, particularly in pass coverage, a guy that just is not quick enough to stay in front of a lot of those, 5 and 10 yard routes that come in his coverages or in terms of picking up man-to-man. Tennessee linebackers being switched on to, tight ends and such and one-on-one matchups in big games, that is, has become a little bit of an issue over the last couple of seasons. I remember when Tennessee played Georgia on the road in 2024, they continued to get one-on-one matchups with Tennessee's linebackers by moving their tight end around, and had a number of big plays off of that. So having of Jaden Perlotti, I think, is really important because he's a guy that has the speed to stay with them. I'd love for him to bulk up a little bit. I'm sure he will, but he's a guy that I think is a high ceiling for this team. I feel like with T-Lander, we've already kind of seen it be at its peak. I think he's a good run stopper, but not a versatile defender. And with the additions you have made in the portal, as Garrett mentions, in addition to the younger guys on this roster, I could see T-Lander kind of, losing his spot just a bit. And
You think he's pissed off?
Well, I don't think he should be pissed off. If anything,
he can't enter the portal. Like, I feel like he'd want to enter the portal.
Well, if anything, he should be pissed off about
thing.
getting better and becoming a better player for this team.
He can still compete for the spot. I mean, if he has a great summer, no one's stopping him from not being on the field.
Correct.
We are as fans.
Well, I'm just being
Ari
critical.
Campbell plays almost every snap.
I'm just being
He played
critical of
almost
his
80.
play.
Well, I know, so you don't want him on the field, but I think
Carter Campbell and any of
he got
Perlotti
4
and
really good
Spillman.
linebackers ahead of him.
Yeah.
He's not seeing the field.
I would tend.
We have a problem at linebacker if he's on the field, like injuries, knock on wood, something like that.
I would tend to agree.
We would, so that's, but it is what it is. Maybe he'll stay and fight for a spot. Maybe he'll earn it over Perlotti or Spillman or somebody else.
So are you? So with
I'm torn on this move.
Are you as ambitious as I am about this linebacking room in terms of the guys I listed off, both proven and high level production potential?
Personally, it was tough because I can see it both ways. Personally, for me, I'd rather go younger at that position with the Perlottis, the Spillmans, Campbells playing more snaps. I wonder how this changes things because he's not going to be the green headset guy. Can he play next to a Campbell? How's his toe injuries coming along? Different things like that. So I would have wanted to see Perlotti and Spillman, Campbell kind of rotating between the three, getting them out there. Maybe there's another role for Carter. Maybe he can come off the edge and be like a kind of a, because he might be a good blitzing guy too. So I don't know. I was torn on it. It's obviously a big get back for Tennessee. The way he was talking, it seemed like he was out the door. I mean, he had thanking Vol fans, thanking coaches, different things like that. So I can see it both ways. Hopefully, I think he's not going to hurt you. I mean, he's an all SEC linebacker type player. So, but for me, I would have rather seen Campbell in there with the two young guys, let them run wild out there and make plays. Yeah.
Well, I think it's important that he comes back outside of his play just because of how important of a leader he is. And again, Tennessee over the last couple of seasons has navigated through a couple of different situations, Nico Iamaleava and Boo Carter being two examples of that. I think it's important to have someone in the locker room that's experienced all of that and knows what the locker room vibe needs to be like, because morale's a big thing. And the in-house logistics of chemistry and camaraderie, all very important. I think Carter gives you that. I was surprised when he entered the portal. That kind of goes away from a lot of that. But obviously any dollar sign can, change one's mind. But
because we were all shocked he went to the draft, right?
I wasn't shocked he went to the draft. He had a strong, had a couple of really strong performances. 7, career high in tackles in back-to-back weeks against Georgia
I don't know
and
what the
Mississippi
linebacker
State.
class either looks like for college football this either. So.
Well,
it's a pretty good one. I mean,
yeah, it's got a lot of strong candidates. Like an Arvell Reese is going to be one of the best in the country. Ohio State's got a couple of nice options. I haven't gotten full into my NFL draft process yet, but I don't think. He would have been a day 3 guy had he gone. Right. But I think his big concern was his turf toe, and that was something he had talked about in the interviews that he did with VolQuest, saying he wants an opportunity to play and have a full year healthy, and hopefully he's able to do so at Tennessee. But he was considering other SEC schools, and I think that would have been an even bigger loss had he gone to a team like Texas A&M, who you face on the road in College Station in November. Like I don't want to line up against a guy like Arian Carter in November, especially with a quarterback in George McIntyre or Faison Brandon, who are going to be.
This linebacker class is loaded.
I mean, you have Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, Anthony Hill, Torian York,
Bailey.
C.J. Hill, Whit Weeks, David
Jonathan
Bailey,
Lawson.
Jacob Rodriguez. I mean, all those guys would have gone ahead of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a loaded
He
class.
would have been a day 3 guy.
It's a pretty good class.
He would have been a day 3 guy. But again, Arian Carter, welcome back. Happy to have you back. And that's a big retain for Tennessee football. He moves alongside a Deshaun Bishop, another guy that re-signed. Edwin Spillman re-signed. So a couple of key numbers there. Staley re-signed. As the portal is now closed, I will say I continue to monitor Mike Matthews and try to see if we could have seen an entry from him, because obviously he entered last year, kind of went down to the wire right before the portal had opened up like he had planned to enter, but then re-signed after a season like he had this year, where it wasn't like magnificent, but it was, much better in terms of production than anything he did to demand a raise the year prior. I was expecting to probably see him in the portal, but instead he was out in Miami with Joakim Dotson and Desan Brame and Braylon Staley, all of his teammates, George McIntyre. So I think that's a nice retain for Tennessee in the sense of you don't have to have a new wide receiver group like you had to have going into this year. Now, obviously, Staley and Matthews were there the season prior, but in terms of established production, you had lost a lot. And you lose Chris Brazzell Jr. this past season, going into next year. But you still got 2 mainstays from last year's group in Matthews and Staley. You add in TK Keys. You've recruited well at that position. Radar Jackson, Travis Smith Jr., Joakim Dotson. I think everywhere on the roster you feel somewhat comfortable about outside of quarterback right now.
Yeah.
And I promise you, Ryan Staub's not changing that.
Not at all.
Guy scored a touchdown this year against Houston, ripped off his helmet.
Oh, Lord.
Like during the play. So
Would you have gone after like a high-level FCS guy like Dickens, or I know the Mercer kid, he was like the top freshman in the FCS football. He went to Oregon State.
Yeah.
Atkinson, I think's his last name. He threw for like 3,600 yards. Obviously, Dickens doesn't turn the ball over. He had like 30 touchdown passes on 2 interceptions, but he's also pretty short guy. So
Tiny, yeah.
yeah, we had mentioned, that FCS route a fair amount last week. Taron Dickens has been a guy that the YouTube
Fans
comment
want, yeah.
people have been roaring for months. Like I remember Taron Dickens back when we were talking like Colton Joseph when he had entered. But my thing with Dickens is this: 38 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's a really good number. Threw for 3,800 yards. That's a good number. But my issue with Dickens and all of these FCS cats is that I feel like a lot of people are trying to chase the trend of Trinidad Chambliss. And I think that Chambliss might just be a one-of-a-kind type of player. And we see this all the time in sports. Like one guy does really, really well, and it's kind of like this unicorn talent, and then everyone tries to chase like the next one, and it doesn't really work out. Like Giannis Antetokounmpo, like in the NBA. When he was dominating the league, everyone was trying to go find like that next lengthy, kind of do-it-all player. And like the reality is there are not a whole lot of Giannis Antetokounmpos that grow on trees. There are not a lot of Trinidad Chamblisses that grow on trees. And I like a couple of FCS quarterbacks that have committed elsewhere. I like the Landon Kelly guy out of Elon that's headed to LSU. I think he throws a good ball. But the reality is he's probably going to be quarterback 3 on that team. And, is that a guy that Tennessee wants starting? I think for Dickens, if he were to have come over, he would have been a guy that competes for that starting job, and I would have been fine with that. But in terms of getting an incumbent starter, I don't think Tennessee would have been able to find any options after losing Sam Leavitt. So I like Dickens. I think he'll be a good player wherever he may end up. But he is 5'10", and he's 180. The other quarterbacks in the SEC right now that are around 5'10" are, like a Trinidad Chambliss who's about 6'1", 6 feet. He's like 205 pounds. Mateer's over 200. Nussmeier was over 200. Like
Taylon Green was a smaller guy, wasn't he,
Pavia was
though?
that small, right?
Pavia was over 200, though.
But it was like 6 feet, right?
Well, it might be. I know, but I'm saying it's like
he's
6
bulky,
foot guys
yeah,
that are over 200 pounds pretty comfortably.
Yeah.
Counter argument to your point, would Dickens or Staub have more upside in this offense? Dickens, I would say, has more upside. Staub, I've already seen what he looks like.
I was going to ask, Garrett, what did you make of the whole process? Because you haven't been here, like the whole QB process. Like obviously we aimed.
I
big.
thought you
we
went.
Levitt,
I thought you
we
went
Simpson.
Yeah, I thought you just aimed too high on some. Like I would have just
too
gone
long on them.
Yeah, I would have gone after a guy that was probably like the 6th or 7th or 8th ranked QB in the portal or somebody like that, and tried to go.
I mean, would you take an ODU guy, Colton Joseph?
Yeah, because I mean he's a dual threat guy. Or if you were gonna like tamper, I would have tried to go out and get like. I mean, I thought Connor Wegman played really good at Houston this year. I mean, obviously in the SEC, he's done it before and it didn't go good. But, like, I don't know. I feel like in this offense, like, that could have worked.
What about Pribilo? He was mentioned. He visited.
I mean, that was, like, at the point where you didn't have many options.
Yeah,
so, yeah. I mean, it would have been better than bringing in Straub. But, I mean, I don't think he was
and obviously guys went quick
QB.
off the board, too.
Yeah, like, I mean, Calandria went very quick. I mean, and if you would have gone after like a Knight or a Hussein Longstreet, like they would have just as much starting experience basically as the guys you already have on your roster. So there was no point to go after one of those guys. I mean, Deuce and I started one game against Mercer, and Hussein Longstreet played minimal snaps behind Maava this season
and then
at USC.
Byron Brown, you knew was going to Auburn.
Yeah, and I mean,
Rocco
you knew he was
Beck.
following his coach. So I don't know. You were kind of just in a bad. Hoover was kind of locked into Indiana since he entered the portal. People were talking about that. So I don't know. There's always going to be a lot of guys that enter, but a lot of these guys kind of have a destination in mind before they've even entered the portal, I feel like.
Chat says Alonzo Barnett would have been successful here as well.
JMU?
He went to a spot, though, where he wanted to start. Like, he's going to be the day one QB starter at UCF.
Scott Frost.
Yeah. And if he would have came here, like, I think he would have won the job, but, like, he's going to win the job at UCF with his eyes closed. Like, he wouldn't have won the job here with his eyes closed.
Yeah. No state income tax in Florida.
That is true.
That was one of the things that Central Florida was propping up and trying to get some portal players. All right, when we come back, we'll take a look at our best bets for the national championship game between Miami and Indiana. It's our best bets look ahead presented by VIP Play. Stay right here. It's the Playbook on Fan Run Radio.
Catch up with all things Fan Run by subscribing to our podcast feed. Like, rate, and download the show from the Fan Run app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Your smile says it all, so make sure it's saying the right thing. At Knoxville Smiles, we believe healthy teeth mean happy lives. Whether it's a routine cleaning, whitening for that big event, or fixing a nagging toothache, our gentle team is here for you. With flexible hours, family-friendly care, and the latest technology, Knoxville Smiles makes every visit stress-free. Don't wait another day to love your smile. Call Knoxville Smiles today at 865-539-1776 or book online at knoxvillesmiles.com. Smile brighter with Knoxville Smiles.
Hi, this is Bo Kregner from the Kregner Group at Realty Executives, and I know there's a lot of choices here in East Tennessee when it comes to choosing a realtor. Here's why the Kregner Group is different. At the Kregner Group, our motto is walking by faith, serving others. It's how I live my life. It's how I run my business. Here at the Kregner Group, we're committed to doing real estate the right way. Faith, honesty, integrity. The Kregner Group. Call me anytime at 865-742-1035 or visit my website at boknowshouses.com.
Got a problem tree looming over your home? Call ECR Total Landscapes. Whether it's trimming, removal, or storm cleanup, our certified pros get the job done safely and efficiently. We're licensed, insured, and ready 24/7 for emergency calls. Big or small, we cut them all. ECR Total Landscapes. Call now for a free estimate, 865-384-2012, and mention promo code FANRUN for free stump grinding on any tree removal now through the end of the year. Also, visit us at ecrtotallandscapes.com.
Hey folks, if you're in need of a lawyer, you need to call my friend Jerry Givens. I've known Jerry since high school and can personally vouch for him. He's East Tennessee through and through, and if you're going through a divorce, bankruptcy, or a DUI case, you'll need someone you can trust on your side to help you navigate the local legal system. You can trust Jerry Givens. Call the law offices of Jerry Givens today at 865-801-9250 to schedule your free consultation. That's 801-9250.
Dick's House of Sport at Westtown Mall is a destination devoted to sport, and it's your destination for exclusive events and experiences. Come visit a store like no other. Check out our 40-foot rock wall, golf performance center, Hit Tracks batting cage, and outdoor turf field. You can now rent our space for private events and birthday parties. Learn more about our events and exclusive product launches on Facebook and Instagram at Dick's House of Sport KNX. Dick's House of Sport, proud partner of Tennessee Athletics.
All right, back here on the Playbook presented by VIP Play. We appreciate you hanging out with us on this Monday. Now time for our Best Bets Look Ahead presented by VIP Play. Folks, the College Football Playoff National Championship goes down tonight in Miami, Florida. And the best way for you to get a little bit of an extra feel for the game is the VIP Play app. Download it, use the code FANRUN, that's FANRUN in all caps, to claim $100 in bonus bets. $100 in bonus bets. When you make your first bet of $20 or more, Miami, Indiana, the national championship, $100 worth of bonus bets. Sounds pretty nice to go along with it. Gambling problem, call 1-800-889-9789. Must be 21 years or older and located in Tennessee to bet. Right now, as I currently look at it, I lean Miami at the 7.5 in terms of the number. It's very similar to what I did last year for Notre Dame, Ohio State. You've just got one team that is kind of the public darling, and that's Indiana. Deservedly so. They played really good football. Miami does get healthier on the defensive side of the ball, which does give me a lot more hope that they're going to be able to keep this one close. Indiana's played a lot of great teams this year, a lot of great defenses. They haven't matched up against one in Miami that plays with the level of physicality and violentness that Miami does. Deontay Scott being out for the first half due to targeting will be significant. But guys like Jacoby Thomas, Ruben Bain, Akeem Mazador, the guys that fly around to the football are going to be really, really interesting to watch in this one. But Indiana, keep in mind, with a pro-style quarterback in Fernando Mendoza, does an incredible job of pinpointing where to go with the football. There hasn't been a team that's been able to stop him yet. So at this moment, I can't completely say I'm taking Miami at the 7.5. I want to continue to see where the tickets and stuff comes in. Right now, we're looking at about a 74 to 26% split in terms of the tickets on Indiana, 29% of the money on Miami, 71% of the money on Indiana. So obviously there is one side that is more lopsided than the other, but I play the number, not necessarily always where the money is and stuff like that, though it does help. I play the number, and at 7.5, you're still getting more than a touchdown of insurance. And saying that this game is going to be close. And at the end of the day, everyone wants it to be close. The total right now, the 46.5 and 47.5, kind of monitoring and hovering between there.
You didn't learn your lesson in the Oregon-Indiana game?
No. But again, every game's different, right? I mean, last year I had Notre Dame plus 9.5, and everyone was like, "You're an idiot," and ended up coming down to the final moments in terms of the covering. We didn't cover. Ohio State covered and won, but it came down to a touchdown with a minute left to go. So right now I lean Miami, but an official play will be posted out later on the Twitter networks /X networks. So make sure you're following along on there to see my official play. Wrapping up another successful, profitable college football season. Really, really strong start to 2026, even though it was slightly dampered by Oregon in the Peach Bowl. But when we come back in hour number 2, let's talk about what the hell went down on Saturday inside Thompson Bowling Arena at Food City Center. Tennessee has a 17-point lead and comes out as a loser to Kentucky. We'll break that one down, what I'm seeing from this Tennessee team moving forward, and we'll also get you ready for that national championship matchup between the Hurricanes and Hoosiers in hour number 2 as we do our college football national championship breakdown. Hour number 2 on the way. Stay right here. It's Fan Run Radio.
Follow us on Twitter or X or whatever the they're calling it these days at Fox Sports Knox. Fox Sports Knoxville. Fan Run Radio.
Today, we raise a glass of Jameson Irish whiskey to the sport of football. Hear, hear!
To Gaelic football, born in Ireland in 1885 in its thrilling blend of soccer, rugby and basketball. On a massive field, 15 players kick or hand pass a round ball to score points over a bar or into a net. No pads, no helmet, no sense.
Hear, hear!
To college football, which kicked off in 1869 when Rutgers beat Princeton 6-4 in the Battle of New Jersey. With 11 players and helmets and pads, teams battle on a 100-yard gridiron with explosive pass plays and hard-hitting tackles. Unless you're called for targeting.
Hear, hear! Since 1780, Jameson Irish whiskey has been enjoyed by sports fans all around the globe. Whether your football is Gaelic, American, or even soccer, we can all agree on super smooth Jameson Irish whiskey. Hear, hear!
Are you tired of waiting on interest rates to drop before you start saving money? I'm Chris Burleson with University Lending Group, and I've got a better way. With a traditional closed-end mortgage, most of your payment goes straight to interest, not your balance. But with my Smart Loan, every deposit you make cuts your principal immediately and reduces interest in real time. On average, my clients pay off their mortgage in just 7 years. Call me today at 865-388-7634 or visit smartloantn.com and let's turn your income into financial freedom. NMLS number 332941.
Blackford Veterinary Surgery Referral specializes in surgeries not regularly performed by your pet's general veterinarian. They're currently accepting referrals from vets all across the country. With their newly renovated state-of-the-art surgery center and highly trained staff, clients can rely on professional and thorough care. If your vet says that your pet needs surgery or rehab, ask for a referral to Blackford Vet and let them get your best friend back on its feet. Located conveniently in West Knoxville. For more information, visit blackfordvetsurgery.com.
Running a business, coaching a team, planning your next big event, you need more than just gear. You need SM Athletics and Logo Solutions. Custom uniforms, branded apparel, promotional products, done right, done fast, and built to show off your brand with pride. From local businesses to high schools to major universities, SM Athletics is trusted by winners. Get real service, get real quality, get noticed. SM Athletics and Logo Solutions, where your brand comes to life.
Visit smathletics.com and let's build something great together.
You're listening to FM 105.7 and AM 1340, WKGN Knoxville, and W289CU Knoxville, Fan Run Radio.
Welcome to Axle Logistics, where excellence isn't just a goal, it's an energy. As a leading third-party logistics company, Axle is powered by an award-winning culture built on a work hard, play hard mentality. Here, the drive for success is contagious and hard work never goes unnoticed. Whether you're just starting out or looking to level up, Axle Logistics is the place to launch your career. Join us and take your ambition to the stars. To learn more, visit axlelogistics.com.
Attention service members and veterans. Introducing the Griffin Law Firm, your trusted ally in military legal matters. From court martials to benefit claims, at Griffin Law, your mission is their mission. Here's VFL Marshall Griffin.
As a veteran and retired military attorney, I've successfully defended lifelong benefits and helped preserve professional futures. So I know that when you hire a military justice lawyer, you maximize your chance to get relief. With my unique experience, I can advocate for you because there's no military matter that's too big or too small. Let us help you make these critical decisions that could affect the rest of your life. Remain silent. Request counsel. Call Griffin Law.
For a free consultation, call 888-707-4282. That's 888-707-4282. Or just visit griffinlawdefense.com.
Here we go. Hour number 2 on a Monday, live from the White Claw Hard Seltzer Studios. It's the Playbook presented by VIP Play. With Brett Hollander and Garrett Armbrust, I'm William Pattison. We appreciate you hanging out with us on this fine Monday from Knoxville, Tennessee. Great stuff in hour number one. We'll continue it here in hour number two as we break down the college football playoff national championship between Miami and Indiana, as well as wrap it up with our final thoughts, including probably some stuff around the NFL from this past weekend. A lot of great football went down in the divisional round. But we do have something very important to talk about, and that is Tennessee basketball. And we'll tip things off in hour number two with our takeaways and thoughts from Tennessee's loss to Kentucky on Saturday, as the University of Tennessee men's basketball team built a 17-point lead late in the first half Saturday afternoon against Kentucky, but dropped an 80-78 decision at a sold-out Food City Center. Senior guard Jacoby Gillespie paced all scorers with 24 points for the number 24 ranked Volunteers, who now dropped to 12-6 and 2-3 in SEC play in a contest that did not trail until the final minute. And we'll get into our takeaways from this one. And, you know, being in the stands for this, getting to watch it unfold, it kind of just went before your eyes. Like, you kind of looked up and you're like, oh, damn, this is a close game again. Because in that first half, I thought Tennessee did an incredible job of getting out of the gates, firing on all cylinders. I think one of the big issues for Tennessee over the last couple of seasons really has been some slow starts. And you saw one against Texas A&M in which Tennessee was able to come back from and win in double overtime. But against Florida, the previous Saturday, it was quickly out of hand because Tennessee got down early, did not shoot the ball well, and then wound up finding themselves in a blowout. But against Kentucky, you came out and hit 3 of your first 4 threes and had a lot of momentum. You were getting, great plays in transition. You were getting turnovers. You're forcing turnovers, I should say, forcing tough shots, shot clock violations. It was a solid start to the game, and it felt like this just might be one of those games where Tennessee and company under Rick Barnes just have their way with an opponent and never look back. Unfortunately, in the second half, things quickly changed to where Kentucky was able to get a lot of second chance points, a lot of second opportunities, and I've talked ad nauseum heading into it on Saturday that when you play a team like Kentucky that is as talented as they are, you cannot allow for second chance points to come in bunches and in terms of opportunities to come in bunches, and that's what Tennessee allowed Kentucky to do. I think one of the big changing points and turning points in this game was a lineup change. And what I thought was very interesting about Texas A&M, obviously you got off to a bad start, but you were able to work your way back into it. And I think the big difference between Saturday's game and Tuesday's game is that Tennessee stuck with the lineup that worked. Against Texas A&M, you saw a 4-out, 1-in type of offense with one big down low, whether it was a Felix Okpara or a Jalen Carey or a J.P. Estrella. But that then allowed for Nate Ament to be able to do a lot of different things and attack the basket. Nate Ament had 19 of his 23 points against the Aggies in the final 19 minutes of the game. The reason why? Because the space was open, the floor was open, allowing for him to attack the basket, allowing for him to get to his spots when he's up against, 6'4", 6'5" defenders, guys that are completely inferior to his height. He's able to get to his spots and have a high release point to be able to shoot it without much contest. You saw that against Texas A&M. The aggression was there from Nate Ament, something I've been waiting to see for much of this season. But it was because the lineup allowed for you to do that. Against Kentucky on Saturday, Tennessee did use that small ball lineup over the course of that second half in pivotal moments. And I'll read you this. Shout out to my guy J-Mo for sending this to me. At 11:22 from 7:23 in the second half, Tennessee went to that small ball lineup, and you scored 12 points on every single offensive possession. The rest of the way in the second half, you played 2 bigs, and you scored a grand total of 11 points in the final 7:23. As Rick Barnes and this team continues to learn more and more about what this roster looks like and what the right rotations are, you're going to have some growing pains. You're going to experience some things early on in the season that are now no longer a part of your current game plan. At least I thought Ethan Berg was a part of that category. Ethan Berg did not play a single minute against Texas A&M, and then you see him out on the court on Saturday against Kentucky. I was scratching my head. I think Ethan Berg is the best player for the opposing team every time Tennessee matches up on a basketball court with someone. But you saw more of him, and I liked it when we saw none of him. I like the addition of Amari Evans. I think he's continued to get better through the course of the season. The same with Troy Henderson. I think those guys are valuable rotational pieces moving forward. And I think Barnes and staff is learning that and learning which guys work and which don't. But one guy that doesn't work is Ethan Berg, and we saw a bunch of him in the game on Saturday. And there's no surprise when he comes in and he turns the ball over immediately. So I think the big thing with Tennessee right now is they're trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. And Tennessee went away from what works in the latter moments of that game, and it results in a crushing defeat. A game that Tennessee should have won.
In that section, though, that J-Mo mentioned?
Well,
because we didn't get any stops second half either.
They made a lot of shots.
They made a lot of shots.
I mean, they scored 50 points in the second half. So I'm just curious. It might have been good offensively, but what were we doing defensively too?
But I think it's important because if your defense wasn't able to get stops in general, you got to be able to counter it with the offensive group that's able to put enough production up. And the Wildcats had a 13-8 advantage in offensive rebounds in the second half. Ultimately gave them a 19-7 cushion in second chance points. I thought was really key, especially when both teams shoot right around the same clip from the field goal percentage and a 3-point line. But I think you have to be able to mirror a Kentucky offense that has a ton of potency by throwing your best offensive group out there when you've got a cushion. You know, the defense was not getting their stops, but Kentucky was hitting their shots like a good offensive team can do. And I thought Tennessee really lacked any offensive production and ultimately wound up in a loss for the Vols. So this is a tough one because you're up 17 points in your own building. You got to find a way to finish that out. And Rick Barnes talked about it after the game, basically saying we are what we are at this point because we're not doing the little things right or not doing the things over the course of a game that gets us to an end result of a win. And if that doesn't change, that's the type of Tennessee team we're going to see over the course of the next couple of months. But I think if Tennessee is able to continue to refine their rotations, look back and see what has worked in conference play, and allow for Nate Ament to become your second best player, which he's going to have to be if you want to have any sort of chance in the tournament, then you got to continue to make adjustments and go with what works. Saturday, what didn't work was going away from that small ball offense and getting back into that too big lineup that just completely suffocates the interior of the paint. My big takeaway was that. Garrett, your takeaway from Tennessee and Kentucky on Saturday.
Yeah, blew the lead. I was irate when I left the game. I couldn't believe that you blew a 17-point lead like that. You had Kentucky fans the last 90 seconds of the game chanting "Go Big Blue" in your own arena. Not very fun to listen to. But yeah, the too big lineup is just, to me, there's not enough spacing. And then the guard play this season has obviously just been inconsistent. You don't have a third shooter. Sometimes you don't even have a second shooter, but you definitely don't have a third shooter, especially when Troy Henderson's able to knock down threes and he's not in the game because I'm blanking. Who came in the game for him the other day?
For who?
That's beside the point. Anyway,
okay.
He should be in the game. He can knock down enough threes where he should be able to be in the game. And we're 2-3 now, and we play 2 ranked games in the next 2
on the road.
On the road, you're most likely going to split that. But if you lose both of those, you're 2-5. And last season, you were 4-4 through the first 8 games in SEC play, and you made the Elite 8. So I understand you can turn things around. But if you start the season 2-5 in SEC play, and the second half of the SEC play for us is significantly easier, but you're just behind a massive 8-ball if you start 2-5 in SEC play. You're in danger of potentially missing the NCAA tournament if you're 2-5 in SEC play, and you have some bad losses coming down the stretch. So they better figure things out quickly. Ethan Berg was what I was trying to say a second ago. Ethan Berg should never be in the game ahead of Troy Henderson, in my opinion. Berg had that horrible turnover where he tried to drive into the lane, threw the ball back over his head. It went out of bounds. I don't really understand why he's in the game so much, but you got to figure some things out because things could spiral out of control pretty quickly here.
I would agree with a lot of that. Ethan Berg, again, I think I tweeted it out. Like, Ethan Berg's about to check into the game. Something must have been a mistake. Must have called the wrong name or something. I think Troy Henderson's such a better option, and he's a guy that comes in fearless too. He's a true freshman, but he's not afraid to shoot the Barack. And
he was 0 for 3.
But I'm okay with that though. Ethan Berg doesn't give me crap.
He must have taken bad ones because he only got 5 minutes action. So
I think the Kentucky size was probably the reason.
Yeah, we mentioned that on Friday.
And we mentioned that Kentucky size, like with a guy like Aberdeen, it's tough to have a 5'10" point guard out there guarding him or being on the court. But
what about the whole notion of this 2 foul thing that Barnes has got? Because that's when Berg came in, right? When Gillespie got like last 6 minutes of the first half, he got like 2 fouls, and Barnes set him because you were up by. You could afford to do that, Do you attribute that to the loss? Because you kind of can't say that when you're still up 11 coming out of the half, right? Like, but people are on the Tony B show kind of saying, oh, this 2 foul thing that Barnes does is kind of ridiculous to an extent. So I don't know. Do you guys think that contributed to it at all, or do you think that's just something Barnes has always done? He's going to stick to it.
I mean, it's at this point, I think it's just what he does, right? I mean, that's just how he kind of goes about it.
Yeah.
But I think with this team, the difference between years past is that now you don't have as many other because like right now,
the same thing happened last year when Zakai would get 2. He'd come out, we'd have nothing behind him. I remember the Vanderbilt.
Well, he
game.
took Amen out before the first media timeout when he got his first foul, and he didn't come back in until under the. I mean, I know that's different. He came back in right after the under 16, but like, I mean, I feel like one
he's
foul.
Quick on the foul, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you should let your guys kind of ride it a little bit.
Because Gillespie had it going too. Like, what if you extended the lead?
Yeah, I mean,
to
if you
20
get
plus,
up to 23, 24 points, the game.
They went on a little spurt there, didn't the half?
Yeah. I think that's just kind of what he does. And Barnes obviously is not going to change. I mean, he's been coaching as long as almost anybody in college basketball. So I'm not going to, question the way he manages a game. But some of his lineups I am going to question.
Ultimately, aren't we just a mid team? I mean, there's not much Barnes can do to change what this team is. Even if he changes the lineup, you still have no shooting.
You have too many inconsistencies in guard play with shooting, and then down low has been too inconsistent. Carey was not very good in the last game.
Missed point blank after
Estrella's been terrible the last 3 games. He scored 0 points in the 2 previous games coming into this one. He had a few points on Saturday. Akpar has been underwhelming this season to me. Dwayne Brown's been good, but I mean, outside, I just feel like it's been underwhelming big play a lot of the season too.
Nate's got to take more than 7 shots too. Like 4 of 7 doesn't seem like a lot. I know a lot of them he got fouled though too. So you don't see it, but like 7 shots seems like he needs to be.
I still feel like Amon over the past 2 games has played better. Like, I mean, I know we can't sit here the entire season and say he's going to grow into his body and like as long as he's good by March, but like I do feel like he's getting better. Like he's taking those pull-up jumpers where he's taller than everybody. Like you saw that in the A&M game. He was still doing it this weekend. Like he didn't make as many shots, but I still feel like if he's taking those pull-up jump shots that are over people, I still feel like that's what you want.
So someone on the YouTube chat asking about the bigs, right? And I wanted to bring this up today because you mentioned Jalen Carey missing a lot of point-blank shots, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned J.P. Estrella kind of being inconsistent. Jalen Carey so far through SEC play, 15 of 42 from the field. That's 35.7%. 14 of 22 from the free throw line. That's 63.3%. And that is an SEC play. So those numbers obviously not good at all.
He's not shooting threes.
And he's not shooting threes.
He's shooting bunnies.
So he's shooting 61% right now within 2 feet of the basket. 61% is Jalen Carey.
He's got no lift. He can't get up off the ground.
33.3% in the paint specifically at 10 out of 30. And then hasn't made a shot outside of the paint all year. But J.P. Estrella, I know the number. I know he hasn't maybe been a top performer here, but 73.6% within 2 feet of the basket, 64% in the paint at 16 of 25, and is 3 of 7 from the top of the key in terms of three-point line. I think we should see more Estrella than we should Carey. I think Estrella's touch is much better than Carey's. And I think Estrella has probably the best touch on the team around the basket when he can go back to the basket. And that's a calling card of teams for Rick Barnes' teams of the past, I understand, and they've tried to adapt and be different. But I think when you look at this rotation and this current roster, you're going to have to find some sort of consistent offense. And I think Jalen Carey does a great job of rebounding the ball and kind of being this bowling ball down low, but he's not being very efficient right next to the cup. And I think that size differential going up against other SEC bigs is playing a factor into that, where he's not able to get up off the ground and get it close enough to have a easy look at the basket.
Yeah, because he had 5 or 6 offensive rebounds.
Yeah, and those
I
are
bet
all.
he didn't finish any of them.
Yeah. So at what cost do you take, second chance points opportunities that are then just blown away by missing layups? I know Estrella's been criticized, but he'd be my second guy in line behind Okpara.
Because Estrella, he was playing good in non-conference play. He had that
Yeah,
one
he
game
was.
where he scored almost 20 points. And Carey, obviously, in non-conference play, like we talked about, he was kind of just like a bull in a china shop. Like in that Syracuse game, he had flaring his elbows all over the place.
But he led us in scoring that night.
He did, but and that was a great game that he had, no doubt about it. But there was also some times where he just got down there and just elbows were flaring, and he's giving the ball to the other team from offensive, fouls. He's basically a football player on a basketball court. And as you said, he's good for the offensive rebounds. But when he played at Vandy last season, he played really good in SEC play. And this year so far, he's been below average in SEC play. So I think you have to maybe look to Estrella and see what you can do with that.
I would tend to agree there. I think Estrella was really good before the injury. Injury set him back a little bit. Hell, he was having back-to-back-to-back career highs in points and rebounds. I get it, it's out of conference play, but he was on a run early in the season. And I like his size and I like his touch better than I do Carey. I'm all for getting rebounds and second chance points. It's going to look good on the box score. But hell, if you're just throwing it up off the glass and, it's not resulting in anything, then what's the point?
Well, Estrella's not playable because he didn't play defense. He fouls a lot. He's played under 10 minutes the last 3 SEC games. There's a reason he's not playing. He's not doing something that Barnes likes.
I understand.
This defense as a whole is just not this hasn't been a Rick Barnes defense that you've seen.
It's a different
over the
type
past
of
few
defense.
years.
They had 1 turnover in the second half.
Yeah.
They had 8 in the first. And that's how they got back in the game. They quit turning the ball over, giving us easy runouts and things like that. And, it became difficult.
The thing that makes me most mad about the Kentucky game was this isn't a top 10 Kentucky that came back and beat us on the road. This is a Kentucky team that's I understand they came back and beat LSU. They had 2 massive comebacks this week. But, I still really don't think Kentucky's that great of a team outside of Oweh. They have obviously talented players, but,
Well, Aberdeen, national champion, not a main player, but 6th man for that team.
Yeah, it's just to me,
he showed it on
it's
Saturday.
just not. Not a team you can blow a 7. You shouldn't blow a 17-point loss to anybody, but a 17-point blown loss
Chandler guy got hot.
to an unranked team in your own building. That's just unexcusable.
Chandler got hot. And you're still up 1, and Gillespie makes, I don't even know what he was doing, throwing that ball away.
Well, yeah, that was another thing. I do that.
Just so lazy.
That the other Tennessee basketball podcast, and we were talking about it last night, and Jeremiah mentioned it to me. It's what about these turnovers late game from Gillespie? Because it happened against Texas A&M too.
Yeah, it almost cost us.
And then on Saturday, it was, very evident that was a huge play.
I don't know how he even didn't see the guy.
Well, I agree.
Don't let me throw the ball.
Well,
he fouled him.
I think sometimes at that point in the game, you're trying to decide, do you just want to go play straight up and just go with a base play, or do you want to go draw something up? But it felt like that one was so that they tried to over-execute it.
You're
right?
up 1, and there was 25 seconds left on the shot clock.
I feel like sometimes in those situations, and maybe I'm reading this wrong, but I feel like sometimes they're just trying to bleed the clock out, and they're not thinking about scoring as much. It's like football when you get the ball back, in the Georgia game, go score the touchdown, stick the knife in them. Basketball, same way, go score, get to the rim. Don't just sit out on the perimeter and dribble the ball out until time runs out on the shot clock.
Yeah.
It's a brutal loss.
Just one you can't have.
You got to win your home games
in March Madness. You can't have that.
It would be funny if this is the team that has no expectations and goes into the NCAA tournament and wins
feels
4
one and
games in a
done.
row.
I just feel one and done.
I mean, I'm not saying they don't, but
Oh, yeah.
it would just be funny if you had all these Barnes teams that were really good over the past couple of years, whether it was a Grant Williams team or the Connect team or last year's team that made the Elite Eight. Like, what if this team's a 9 seed and just gets hot and wins 4 games in a row?
That would be impressive. But right now, I mean, looking at college basketball, I mean, there are a lot of teams right now that are just a lot more consistent. Like even like a Nebraska. I know Nebraska's like kind of coming out of the woodwork, but like Nebraska goes on the road and plays Ohio State. They were an underdog, and they went out right comfortably.
Yeah.
Like those tough, difficult situations in college hoops, you've got other teams across the country that are going unscathed. And I know it's January, and Nebraska's not probably going to be a national championship contending team once you get to the tournament. But, like, there are other teams across the country that are getting the wins they're supposed to and handling the situation they're supposed to. And Tennessee is just a mixed bag of outcomes right now.
And you don't want to play like a Utah State or a Miami of Ohio the second week or the round of 32 either, because those teams, I mean, Miami of Ohio, obviously 19-0, Utah State, St. Louis, like those are all kind of the top mid-majors right now. Like, I don't think those are good matchups either in like a round of 32 game that you would play.
Isn't that interesting right now, though, that like we're in the middle of January, or honestly now starting to get to the end of January. It's crazy how much time flies by. And you've got mid-majors getting, AP top 25 nominations. I feel like at this point in the game, we don't really see that.
Yeah, I mean, Miami of Ohio and Utah State, I'm pretty sure, were both ranked in this week's AP poll, 24 and 25.
Yeah.
And St. Louis obviously was receiving votes. I mean, they only have 1 loss. That Miami of Ohio team, I mean, they should have lost. They played Buffalo on Saturday. They hit a game-tying 3 and then a game-winning shot at the end. I mean, they're a team of destiny right now. They might go undefeated, though, because the rest of their MAC schedule is pretty easy.
And those teams are interesting, too, because let's say Miami, Ohio, goes unscathed in the regular season and loses, like, the semifinal matchup in the MAC tournament. Like, is that a team that gets in still? And that happened to Indiana State a couple of years ago. That Robbie Avila team.
Yeah, but they had, like, 4 or 5 losses, though, right? I mean, if you're, like, 28-1 going into, like, the MAC tournament, like, I think you'd be good.
All right, we got Matthew in Dallas on the line. What up, Matthew in Dallas?
Our pets' heads are falling off. Our football team is taking guys left and right out of the portal that maybe other schools would pass on. And our basketball team has gone on back-to-back Elite Eights, but now they're 2-3 in conference play and just lost to our biggest rivalry. And our beloved Coach Barnes is now 1-3 against Mark Pope. I've been better, buddy.
Yeah. I know. You list off all the things that are going wrong. It's just, we used to be in the glory days. Now we got to go back through the tough times.
And that's why I wanted to call in, and I'll hang up and let you guys unpack this, because and Brett knows this, I will hold the water for Coach Barnes. I truly think he is a coach that has elevated our program, and I hope he stays on for at least another 2-3 years. I hope he keeps having these runs, but I do question this. Has modern basketball taken over college athletics as a whole, and Coach Barnes' traditional style of play, is his style of offense getting in the way of what could be, as we've yearned for so many years as college basketball fans, that Final Four run? Because, obviously I joked with it. Mark Pope is now 3-1 against him. And to go against my own opinion, you go up against a guy like Nate Oates, who you're facing this week. And I think if I'm correct, and don't quote me on this, but I don't think he's lost to him ever. I think he's undefeated versus Nate Oates. So it's just 2 different styles of coaching. And I just try to get out of the way to say, has traditional basketball gone away? And does Coach Barnes need to reinvent himself in the offseason? I'll hang up with that thought. Take care, boys.
Appreciate you calling in, Matthew in Dallas, as always. I think it's important to recognize what Barnes has done before, getting really critical about just this season specifically, because the transfer portal is difficult to navigate. And Barnes is an older coach. And we've seen coaches across the country drop out and quit, or, have to pick up and go somewhere else, because what they were doing did not work any longer. John Calipari at Kentucky, he was continuing to pump out 3 or 4 5-star high school players and try to go win games with them. And then they'd go lose to Jack Golke, a future State Farm employee, in the first round. And he realized, okay, this isn't going to work anymore. But like coaches, especially these older coaches, have had to learn adjustments and how to navigate what college basketball and college sports is like in 2026. And for Barnes, I think you have to give him credit for being able to have a core with the Zakai Zieglers and Josiah Jordan-James and all those guys, have a core while also being able to add complementary pieces. And you did that with a Dalton Connect, and you did that with a Chaz Lanier. This year is really the first year that Barnes has had to navigate not having any type of nucleus returning on the team in terms of a big-time performer. Like Estrella, was good, Boswell, but no one was like, one of the best players in the room over the last couple of years and has continued to be a nucleus of the team. This was always going to be a difficult year, an interesting year for Barnes because it's gone away from what he has known. And I think he has made changes in terms of his offense. We saw a lot more pace over the last couple of seasons with Connect and Lanier. But I feel like this roster is the issue. Yes. The roster is the issue. And I think that can be a learning lesson for Barnes in the upcoming portal cycle to where, you really like what you got in Nate Ament, but he's not going to be a guy that's going to win you games in his freshman year. He'll be a really good NBA player in a couple of seasons, but not a guy that's going to win you games right now. And I think that was kind of the last resort effort from Barnes after missing on a Rodney Rice and missing on an Isaac McNeely. You needed to bring someone in, and Ament is, a very fascinating player to watch, even though there are a lot of growing pains, but that's part of it. So I think it's important to realize Barnes has hit and has done a lot better than a lot of other older coaches who have now either lost their job or had to go to a different place, or it's not working out still at their current spot. Barnes has adapted to what life is like in 2026 in college athletics, but I think this is his first miss. Just not a good roster, kind of all over the place. You really like what you got in Jacoby Gillespie. I'd say that's a hit.
100%.
But everyone else is kind of like, just it doesn't mesh. So I think that's the issue with this team. And it's a miss, but out of, the last 3 seasons we've had to deal with the portal cycle continuously. I mean, Tennessee's been in back-to-back Elite Eights. So I think you have to keep that in mind.
But it had a style, but it had a roster, right? That's
yes.
Conducive to the two bigs is long gone in this day and age of basketball.
But it's very rare in the portal that you're going to have a home run hit every time, every cycle. Like, there are going to be whiffs. And there have been teams that have had whiffs. Kansas won a national championship not too long ago. They've had 2 pitiful teams the last 2 seasons because they relied on portal guys and paid a lot of top money, and it didn't work. It's just part of it. But I think this is Barnes' first miss. And
well, it's not his first. He had like Tyreek Keys.
I'm not talking about specific portal guys because even he had misses last year.
I'm saying those teams, though. Those teams weren't great.
Well, I mean, the Tyreek Key team, what was that, 2020? What year was that?
Like 20. Nah, it was like 21.
21?
Might have even been 22.
But that team was that team won the SEC championship.
Yeah. And he wasn't like your number 1 or 2 guy.
Yeah,
we're talking about right now, like Nate Ament was supposed to be, this top 5, and he still will probably be very successful in the NBA. But like,
we need him good
to have an 18-year-old that's supposed to be your. You've seen the Rutgers game, like when him and Gillespie both play good. I mean, you see what you can do.
Yeah.
And even the Houston game, but then you see when they're not shooting the ball well, what happens.
The frustrating part is you watch across the country, the guys in his class.
Well, I mean, there's also some, Kansas, yes, it would be nice to have Darren Peterson, but, there's sometimes when he just doesn't play. Like the, was it, the UCF game, I think, that they lost?
Yeah.
He just didn't play the second half. He just sat on the bench and just decided he didn't want to play. So, do you want one of those guys on your roster? He can put up 30 points any given night, but he's also liable to only play 10 minutes in a game.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's just risky in today's NIL era to go get an 18-year-old kid that doesn't want to get injured when they know they're going to be a one-and-done to go to the NBA draft. I think you're just better off going out of the portal and getting guys that way, in my opinion. But
well, the Volunteers no midweek game this week, but they will resume play on Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN or ESPN2, depending on the situation. They'll be going down at Coleman Coliseum in Tuscaloosa, Alabama to take on the number 18 ranked Crimson Tide. Join us at Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria for the official Tennessee watch party as the Vols take on the Crimson Tide. And when we come back, we'll get you ready for the College Football Playoff National Championship between Miami and Indiana. Stay right here. It's the Playbook on on Fan Run Radio.
For the fans, by the fans. This is Fan Run Radio, Knoxville.
For over 3 years, Crumble Cookies has served the Knoxville area. From Clinton Highway to Parkside Drive, even our friends out in Maryville have reached you, our fans, with the best cookies in the game. This fall, Crumble is gearing up for yet another fantastic season. Whether you're tailgating or looking for a pick-me-up after getting the kids from school, Crumble has you covered. Download the Crumble app to check out this week's rewards and features. And stop on by. Tell them Fan Run sent you, but don't miss the cookies.
Vol fans, reimagine your home at Broadway Carpets and Flooring for any remodeling or building needs. With a variety of carpets, rugs, hardwood, vinyl, and stone, Broadway has all the flooring and installation options you're looking for, including pet-resistant products like Pet Perfect Carpet from Shaw Floors. Visit their showroom in downtown Knoxville or the location in West Knoxville located on Kingston Pike near Pellissippi Parkway today.
Yeah, it's another day, but what kind of day is it really? A day of doom scrolling? Laundry day? Nah, it's a White Claw day. Light and refreshing tasting, uniquely cold way filtered. There's an iconic flavor for everyone. So grab a pack, grab your friends. Make the most of each day with those who matter most. When you're together with White Claw, every day is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. You just gotta grab it. White Claw. Grab life by the claw. Please drink responsibly. Hard seltzer with flavors. White Claw Seltzer Works, Chicago, Illinois.
Yeehaw! I've been hooting and hollering ever since I started betting with the VIP Play app. VIP Play has more than 200 leagues, every bet type you can imagine. Live betting and live hosts, all with 24/7 support from real live people when you need them. Start betting better with the VIP Play app today.
Don't be a better, be a better with VIP Play today.
Download VIP Play today or head to VIPPlayApp.com. Make sure you use the promo code FANRUN to take advantage of their welcome bonus and so they know that we sent you. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-88-99789. Must be 21 or older and located in Tennessee to bet.
A brand built in Tennessee and born from the love of the game. Inward Half revolutionizes golfing comfort. Crafted by a former pro and dedicated enthusiast just like you, our luxury performance wear guarantees you stay cool and comfortable through every swing and every day. We're not just a brand. We've set out to create a lifestyle for those who understand that impeccable style and premium performance are a hole-in-one. Enjoy the walk-in with Inward Half.
Hey Vols fans, Cody Brown here. I grew up right here in Tennessee and know what it means when someone says, I've got your back. That's why you can trust Farm Bureau Insurance of Tennessee. Whether it's your home, your vehicle, your family's future, or the business you built from the ground up, we will show up for all of your insurance needs. We are Tennesseans who understand what matters, which is doing right by you. Insurance is not all about just paperwork and policies, but it's about the people we insure every day. So if you want insurance that hits home, give me a call at 865-992-3871. Go Vols.
All right, back here on the Playbook presented by VIP Play. We appreciate you hanging out with us on this Monday. The national championship tonight, Miami and Indiana going down in Hard Rock Stadium, home of the Miami Hurricanes. This one kicks off at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. Indiana, the number one team in the nation for a majority of the season and entering the college football playoff field, will look to win their first ever national championship in football and become the first team to go 16-0 in the Division I FBS level since 1894 when Yale did so. 16-0 has never been achieved since then. Now, North Dakota State did so at the FCS level in 2019, but obviously this is a different level of football, and Indiana would become the first team in the 12-team format to remain undefeated through the course of the season. That's what's at stake on one side, in addition to Kirk Cignetti establishing himself as one of the premier coaches in college football, and, a run that, talk about a turnaround, like a 2-year turnaround. You get to the national championship is just unheard of.
Yeah.
On the other side is Miami, playing in their own building. Carson Beck, the former Georgia quarterback who spent multiple seasons with the Bulldogs, had one last year of eligibility remaining, had a surgery this offseason after that injury in the SEC championship a season ago. He now finds himself in the national title game with an opportunity to bring Miami a championship trophy for the first time since 2001. However, this is the Hurricanes' second appearance in the championship since they last won in 2001, as they made it in 2002, losing to Ohio State. But this has been a Miami team that completely turned things around defensively. Last year, one of the toughest to watch defenses in the country, and at least in terms of the Power Four. They bring in Corey Heatherman from Minnesota. He's done an incredible job. They play with relentless effort, violence, and physicality. This is a very strong defense spearheaded by Reuben Bain Jr. and Akeem Mazador on that defensive front. Have done an incredible job all season long. So, in a nutshell, you get two teams that come from different past and have completely different histories, but both of them will look to become college football national champions tonight. The Indiana Hoosiers 7.5-point favorites on VIP play at the moment. As I mentioned earlier, we'll have an official play on that later tonight. But what I watch for in this matchup is Indiana's offense and that offensive line led by a guy in Pat Coogan who was the Rose Bowl MVP. The offensive line was the MVP of the Rose Bowl, which is incredible, but also shows how big of a strength that is for this Indiana team. How does that offensive line handle the physicality and toughness of that Miami defensive front? Are Bain and Mazador able to get to Fernando Mendoza, a guy that doesn't make many mistakes and is always on time and accurate? So that's what I watch for in that matchup. And then for Miami's offense up against this Indiana defense, I think Indiana's defense is often overlooked and not talked about, but it's one of the strongest units in college football. Guys like D'Angelo Pons at 5'9" are an example that size doesn't matter, guys. You can be, a 5'9" player and be one of the best in college football at your position. And that's what Pons has been, a former James Madison transfer. I look for Miami and their ability to establish the run because I think that's been a huge point of emphasis for them so far in the playoffs. They did it against Texas A&M. They had a solid attack against Ohio State, and they ran the ball well against Ole Miss as well. I think if they're able to run the football, be balanced in their offensive attack, then that opens things up for Carson Beck and doesn't make him have to throw the ball, 30 to 40 times like he had to do against SMU and Louisville, which both resulted in losses. So running the ball will be very key for Miami tonight. I think Indiana wins. It's kind of a no bleep statement, but I look for Miami to keep it close in terms of that 7.5 number. But ultimately, I just think Indiana's the more well-oiled machine and doesn't make as many mistakes. Miami, we've seen, sometimes has a tendency to have some boneheadedness, as you saw in the Fiesta Bowl. Late hits, jumping on players after plays. They get kind of unraveled a little bit quicker than I've seen from Indiana, who's been able to stay very level-headed throughout the season. I like the Hoosiers here, but should be a great matchup. Garrett, what are your takes and thoughts on this Miami versus Indiana national championship bout?
Yeah, I kind of same thing with you. I like Indiana to win the game. I do struggle, especially if the line goes to 8.5. It's kind of been bouncing between 7.5 and 8.5. To me, Miami is too good to say that Indiana is going to win by more than 8 points. I just think Miami at the line of scrimmage, they've shown that they're as good as anybody, if not better than anybody in the country at the line of scrimmage. And Miami dominated Ohio State at the line of scrimmage. And, that's one of their common opponents, I guess really their only common opponent that they've played this season is Ohio State. And Indiana, when they played that Ohio State team, they only scored 13 points. So I think that Miami can keep themselves in this game, especially coming off the pressure that they're going to create on the quarterback with Mendoza. As you said, you're going to have Ruben Bain, and you're going to have Mesidor coming, and those guys have been incredible all season. And then you have a really good secondary with Forberval, Jacoby Thomas, and you have Torrey out there, and you have Xavier Lucas, and there's just a lot of guys in that secondary that are going to have to shut down that wide receiver room, because that wide receiver room for Indiana is very good.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they have a top wide receiver talent, and then they have Charlie Becker, they have Omar Cooper Jr., but I think Miami's skill position players are going to cause is going to be what matters in this game a lot too. Obviously, everyone knows Mark Fletcher, very good running back. Malachi Toney, one of the best wide receivers in the country, the best freshman in the nation. I think if they can hit a couple of explosive plays downfield, that's going to be how they're going to stay in the game. We've seen over the course of the playoffs, Keelan Marion has had pretty much one play every game where he's gone downfield and had a deep shot that they've connected on. I think if they can connect on one or two of those deep balls to Keelan Marion, that's going to keep them in this game as well. But again, D'Angelo Pons, Moore, Devon Boykins, a lot of guys in that secondary for Indiana that are going to try and not let that happen. So I think it's going to be a really good game. I think it's going to be closer than Vegas thinks, and I'm just excited to watch it. But I'm with you. I think Indiana does end up winning the game.
Yeah, Marion, a BYU transfer, was supposed to be one of the heavy hitters for this offense heading into the season. Instead, it's been Malachi Toney, a guy that should still be in high school right now, a former quarterback in high school, transferred over to wide receiver, moved over to wide receiver, and came to Miami a year early and has been one of the best players in all of college football this season. He's going to be a big point of emphasis for this Miami offensive attack as well. Brett, Indiana, Miami tonight, what do you make of it?
Two interesting ways of getting to it. Miami's gone from possibly not getting into this thing. I know you were pretty high on Notre Dame getting in over them, so that's a story in itself. Obviously, playing at home, different things like that. I think one of the most talked about things is how good Indiana is actually at running the ball with that physical offensive line. They got two guys pretty much at 1,000 yards this season, which is crazy to think about when you only hear about Mendoza and those wide receivers. I think a key could be if they establish the run game, then that just opens up play action. I believe it's Charlie Becker. He's been a big play guy down the field for Indiana, 20.5 yards per catch. Had some big ones against Oregon. And they've come out like gangbusters in the start of these football games. They've really put Alabama in it, and they put Oregon on it, and things like that. So Miami's almost got to weather a storm early on. And I think it simply comes down to Indiana's offense versus Miami's defense. Miami's defense struggles at all, giving up points. I don't know if Beck and company are going to be able to score enough, because if they have to get away from the run game, that's just going to put Carson Beck in a whole world of hurt. So I honestly think nothing makes me think differently that Indiana doesn't cruise tonight by a couple scores.
Okay. An old phrase that I loved from Vern Lundquist on the CBS broadcast back in the day of SEC on CBS. Yep. He would always compare Bo Wallace. Would you get the good Bo or the bad Bo? And that is very similar to Carson Beck. Do you get the good Beck or the bad Beck? And I think ultimately the version you get of Carson Beck tonight will dictate how close this game is. We saw Dante Moore get borderline investigated by the FBI by the way he played against Indiana the other night. Multiple turnovers, horrible field positioning to give up, and it allowed Indiana to go up really early and then have a lead that was, just too big to come back from. If Carson Beck takes care of the football, this is a different Miami team. And the games that Beck has turned the ball over multiple times, it was SMU, a loss, and it was Louisville, a loss. Now, he wasn't great against Texas A&M, but that was a back-and-forth game. The wind conditions were there. Against Ole Miss, did have a costly turnover. I wouldn't necessarily say it was his fault, as it was one of those tip ball drills. Yeah. But when Beck turns the ball over, this is a different team. And I know you might be saying, well, William, no crap if he turns the ball over. it's going to be different. But it then becomes a change in the cog in his mindset of the type of throws he makes. Then he starts getting a little bit more erratic, or then starts holding on to the ball and not making the plays he would have down the field. So I think for Beck, it's taking care of the football, limiting the amount of possessions Indiana gets, and I think Miami did a great job of doing that against Ole Miss. That first drive, they sat on the ball for a majority of the time, and they sat on the ball for a majority of that game. A big differential in time of possession. I think that is another asset for Miami here and their style of play, because in the games they have won, they make you play their style. Can they do that against Indiana tonight? But again, establishing the run with Fletcher, and then getting Carson back to play, clean football, I think are the two big characteristics for Miami to win the game. But just in terms of keeping it around and keeping it close, that time of possession and just getting the type of production they've gotten defensively over the last couple of months, I think is significant. Interested to see the speed of these Miami defensive backs, too, up against like an Elijah Surratt, who Surratt's one of the best wide receivers in college football.
Big physical guy.
But he's a physical guy.
Yeah.
He's not going to wow you with his speed off the line
That's
of
where
scrimmage.
Becker is.
And that's where I think these Miami DBs could take advantage of that matchup. Becker's a very interesting player, though. He's a Tennessee guy, if I'm correct
he's
on
from
that.
Nashville.
Yeah.
No one had ever really heard of him either till the Penn State game, and then he's just going on a run where he's had like 50 receiving yards plus in like every game since then.
Yeah.
Just touchdown.
And then what's their other receiver that played with Trevor Lawrence at Clemson?
E.J. Williams.
E.J. Williams.
Yeah.
I had to get that in there.
Wait, he played with
Trevor Lawrence at Clemson.
Trevor Lawrence has been in the NFL for.
I know.
Yeah, E.J. Williams is.
I guess he only
6th
played
year,
1
I think.
year, but you just think he's been in the league so long.
E.J. Williams
That's crazy.
caught a touchdown pass from Trevor Lawrence in 2020. Is now playing in the
He was
2026
at
National
Auburn
Championship tonight.
A couple years ago, I think, and then
He was at Clemson for 3 years, and then went to.
I know he played at Auburn at some point. I'm pretty sure.
I think he's done 3 and 3. From when I looked at it, it was 3 at Indiana, 3 at Clemson.
Okay, maybe that's what
Yeah.
it is. Because I know he's from Phoenix City, Georgia, or
Yeah.
excuse me, Alabama, which is right next to Auburn. Maybe that's
Yeah.
why I was thinking that. But I think third down's important too for Miami. They've given the ball to Charmar Brown a lot on 3rd and 4th down, the North
been
Dakota
good.
State transfer, and he's got them a lot of 3rd and 4th downs on like 3rd and short this season.
Yeah.
And I think obviously Indiana's defensive line's very good, so we'll see if he can continue to do that. But I mean, basic stuff. If Miami's going to win this game, they got to convert in 3rd and 4th down, and they got to get touchdowns in the red zone.
Yeah. Good analysis there all around. I do like having the former G5. Are you still going G5, Garrett? Or
We can go with that, yeah.
4th and Saturday is a good
Yeah.
good tagline, too. 4th and Saturday is active on the Twitter feed.
So he's going to be depressed like you when the season ends.
What do you mean?
Well, you said you're only college football all the time.
I know, but
That
we have
means-
a whole new season kicks off tomorrow.
Yeah, you get to start previewing
The
each
off
team.
season.
I guess On 3 did come out with their way too early 26.
I'm not listening to that crap. William Patterson.
You don't have him come out with yours yet?
I
William
picked Clemson
Patterson
to win the national title, so I don't think that stuff usually.
William Patterson's got his way too early top 25 ready to go tomorrow.
Okay, gotcha.
I don't listen to that On 3 crap.
Has Mensa announced yet, by the way?
It's inevitable.
He's going to Miami.
Yeah.
When we come back, we'll wrap things up. Stay right here. It's the Playbook on VIP, presented by VIP Play on Fan Run Radio. Second on that.
Congratulations. You found sports radio that doesn't suck. This is Fan Run Radio, Knoxville.
At Knoxville Insurance Group, they understand the challenges many consumers face when searching for insurance coverage. That's why whether it's for you, your family, or your business, they create a coverage plan specifically for your unique needs. Knoxville Insurance Group is an independent firm, which means they aren't beholden to just one insurance company. They search multiple companies acting as your negotiator to find you the best possible policy and price. Start a quote in minutes at KnoxvilleInsuranceGroup.com or call them today at 865-694-9788.
Hey, football fans, this is Stats.
And this is the Sheik, and together we are the Cover Boys, and we cover college football like no one else.
Each week, we preview all the big games in college football, and we may not tell you who's going to win, but we'll tell you who's going to cover.
Our patented right sides are clicking at 66% against the spread all time.
So join us right here every Friday evening at 8 for the Cover Boys on the official voice of Tennessee fans, Fan Run Radio.
And enjoy the winners, everyone.
God knows I am Reincarnated, I was stargazing. Life goes on, I need all my babies.
All right, wrapping things up on a Monday. We appreciate you hanging out with us over the last 2 hours. Flying by today. Transfer portal coming to a little bit of a close, winding down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
National championship tonight. College football season.
Are you ready for Snowmageddon? You should have heard what he just told me.
About this weekend?
Yeah.
Said in Nashville there's a possibility of 15 inches on Saturday.
No, I didn't. I saw 5 inches.
I just saw on Twitter.
He just showed me a Twitter thing. That
said up to 15 inches possible.
In Nashville.
I'm fine with that.
Are you?
I'll just be cooking at the house. As long as I got Wi-Fi.
That's a lot of snow, man.
I guess grown adult William can't be excited about it. If I were Garrett, I'd be going nuts.
We'll see what happens. It's obviously 6 days from now.
If it snows 15 inches, you're
not having class for a while.
You're skiing to the hill.
Yeah.
Skiing to Cool Beans. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Might be tough for Barley's.
What? At Barley's, they got snow tractors and stuff. We'll plow our way in there.
Not in neighborhoods and stuff.
Well, it's just down the road from me. I'll be there.
Well, yeah, you can, that's what we were saying. I guess if you can walk to the old city.
Walk in. I mean, the South always handles snow well. It'll be gone in a day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I guess I can't get excited about snow anymore, though, I will say. I mean, it doesn't really affect my daily life now, other than maybe not being able to come here, but I still got to do stuff.
You don't get the emails.
Honestly, I don't like taking breaks. Like, honestly, this Saturday, like, I went out and hung out all day.
You hated it?
I didn't hate it, but it's like I didn't get anything done today.
Were you thinking I'm too old for this?
No, I was just thinking I didn't get anything done today.
Yeah, my app only says in Knoxville 2 inches on Saturday.
We're not getting crap.
Well, look at the computer down here, Garrett. What's it say?
The bottom of the computer reads 10 inches of snow, the monitor over here.
Saturday.
And here? Is that an outside or indoor?
That is.
I don't know.
I mean, if you look at like the hourly forecast, it has snow from 4:45 in the morning till about midnight.
That's awesome. That's literally an all-day snow day. Again, as long as I don't lose heat, as long as I've still got hot water,
and Wi-Fi.
As long as I've got Wi-Fi, I don't care. I'm all good with it.
Real quick, did you watch any playoffs this weekend while you're out?
I did.
Any quick takeaways? We got a couple minutes.
Yeah. Josh Allen, this was his year. Can't turn the ball over 4 times.
The Cooks play. What'd you think?
It was correctly ruled.
Okay.
Bills fans are taking, I love.
There was one that happened yesterday that they're trying to say was similar.
I love
Devontae Adams.
When people take a screenshot of a play.
Yeah.
And be like, oh, look at this right here. That is why.
It should have, yeah.
If you watch the game, it was a continuation of motion. Like, both guys had a hand on the ball, and then one guy comes out with it.
Adams was different. I mean, he had 2 knees on the ball. 2 knees on the ground with, like, full possession of the ball, like, in his hands. Like, that was, they were both catches. But I'm saying, like, Bills fans can't look at his and be like, well, his was really catch. Or, his was clearly 100,000% a catch.
Well, here's my thing. So, for all the Bills fans that want to cry and complain and woo is me, Josh Allen, blah, 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 because there are too many of them. If he had dropped that ball, is that a live ball fumble? It would have been ruled incomplete.
Right.
So, like, if a guy comes out with it, then it's an interception.
He was also in the air, so that made a difference between Devontae and, like, he had 2 feet on the ground kind of thing. He was in the air, hadn't established the ground yet or whatever.
There's always going to be questionable.
Yeah.
They said that the second PI wasn't like, the second one was clear as day. Like, the first one, like, you could maybe say it wasn't PI.
Yeah.
But, like, the second one was clear DPI, and they're trying to sit there and say that wasn't pass interference.
That's very true.
But I guess rapid fire takes Josh Allen, too many turnovers, can't do
Quarterback
that.
play was not good this week.
Broncos defense is going to will them probably to, or could will them.
It's going to have to with Stidham.
Yeah. 49ers, thanks for coming.
That was crazy.
I was really wrong on that one. C.J. Stroud is terrible. C.J. Stroud's terrible.
Wasn't any better. Wasn't much better.
Yeah, but Stroud's bad for that.
Did you say 5 fumbles
for that point in the season, or for that point in his career, he's bad.
Yeah.
And then Caleb Williams, really nice throw. That was fun. But the Rams, I think, are still the best team in the league, and I hope
they
win.
go to the Super Bowl.
I do too. All right, that's going to wrap it up for a Monday edition of the Playbook. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Happy to have Garrett Armbrust back, and as well as Brett Hollander, who's been here, but we always appreciate his time.
Still showing up.
I'm still showing up, yeah. I'm William Pattison. We appreciate it. Coming up next, it's The Drive with Russell Smith, Bob Baskerville, the Bear, and Walker Smith to round out your Monday.